how the Catholic Church has changed in these 40 years with us in the lead. Would you like to just stand up for a second and shake it out and then sit right down again? You've been sitting a long time. On this 40th anniversary of Dignity, we can point with pride to accomplishments that have changed Catholicism in material ways and have changed us too. God knows the work has just begun, but let me reprise what I think are the most outstanding changes as they ground our vision of church for the decade ahead. First, a great myth has been exploded in our time. It's the mistaken notion that the Roman articulation of Catholicism is the normative one. How often we confuse the Roman Catholic Church with what it means to be Catholic. I prefer to be polite and honest. Well-brought-up Catholic girl. I prefer to be polite and honest about the reality of Orthodox Catholics, Anglo-Catholics, Old Catholics, American Catholics, Women Church Catholics, Dignity Catholics, among others. There are a range of ways of being Catholic, of which Roman is but one. Despite the Vatican's efforts and the collusion of an often under-informed press, the Roman part of the Catholic tradition is not necessarily the normative one. And it need not be treated as such. It is simply one expression of the tradition. Given its kyriarchal, that is, the introstructure forms of lordship I talked about, given its kyriarchal expression at the moment, it is not perhaps the one that best exemplifies the love and justice values that are our tradition. I hope for its radical reshaping, but in the meantime, I'm Catholic in quite a different way, happy to clarify that Rome does not speak for the whole Church. Living out this new Catholic reality in many ways. We neither ask permission nor beg forgiveness as we go ahead. We neither ask permission nor beg forgiveness as we go ahead with liturgy, with more concern for prayer and effective ritual than conformity to rubrics. Many of us have moved beyond dependence on the presence of an ordained cleric, male or female, to authenticate our Eucharist. We see the community gathered as the ordinary ministers of the Eucharist, rather than objectifying our priests, male or female, as sacramental guarantors. We need us, not someone ordained. We look to local communities for decisions about their own well-being and for financial solvency. We expect adult individuals to be active participants, thinking members of their communities, not passive recipients of wisdom and laws from on high. This does not mean we are no longer Catholic. Don't go out of here saying, oh, Dignity's now become Protestant. It means, nothing wrong with it, by the way. It means we are Catholic in the deeper, richer sense of the Greek word katholikos, meaning broad-minded, inclusive, and encompassing of all. Doesn't that sound like us?
Yes.
Catholics. A second major change. Dignity is now an integral part of the larger church, albeit not the kyriarchal institution. In the 40 years since our founding and since Vatican II, the kyriarchal institution we call Rome has become bankrupt morally, spiritually, and in many places financially. We need not rehearse all the sordid details, but 3 flagrant examples would be enough to make my case. They asked me to give this talk for a reason. Eat your heart out, Rachel. The first, of course, is priest pedophilia and episcopal cover-ups, which in this country ended the Kyriarchy's claim to the moral high ground. Allowing illegal sexual behavior, countenancing and moving around on a national interdiocesan chessboard priests whom bishops should have known could be serial offenders, and then spending more than $1 billion in reparations to survivors for whom no amount of money will ever compensate them for their losses, was the end of Roman Catholic credibility as we knew it. I say this with a heavy heart. I say this with a heavy heart. The Ryan Report, released recently in Ireland, catalogs that country's parallel experience. And now the Irish bishops, unbelievably, are blaming the religious orders. It was their fault. I report to you very sadly that in recent weeks, several survivors in Ireland have committed suicide since the report became public. The pattern of sadistic behavior toward children, sexual violence against teens, is rooted in a homophobic theology that justifies a perverted morality. Enough is enough. The end of their credibility of any moral high ground. A case of spiritual bankruptcy. The current Vatican-directed witch hunt of American nuns is surely the sign of spiritual bankruptcy. Concerned about the decline in the number of nuns in American orders, an apostolic visitation was ordered of all of the communities. The Vatican enlisted conservative nuns to visit more progressive ones, God knows how, and report to the Congregation of Institutes of Consecrated Life and Societies of Apostolic Life about the quality of life of the 59,000 women religious who belong to 400 congregations in this country, whose median age is around 72. The stated goal is to find out what they're doing and to help them grow. In reality, I believe it is to force them to toe the Vatican line. Religious life as we know it, or as we knew it, is almost over. The Vatican conveniently ignores the major factor in the decline in numbers in women's religious orders, namely its Neanderthal treatment of women in general and women religious in particular.